Welcome to Making Cozy Fall, a 6-part series based on an online class I purchased from the Graceful Baker. Throughout this series, I will share with you all of the likes and dislikes, ups and downs, and yays and boos I experienced while decorating these cookies. There is a lot to cover, so let's get started with the cozy scarf. It is no secret I am a fan of the decorating done by the Graceful Baker. And when I was first trying to come up with a series for November, I found myself always seeing Cozy Fall in my mind. But then I thought, what if I actually bought the class and did the designs? So that is how we got here. I first went to her website, thegracefulbaker.com, and searched for the class. I found it, and then I waited. I could see that she often runs specials. So since this was in August, I thought I would take my chances. About a week later, it went on sale and I bought it. On my phone in front of me, I have the class pulled up for my reference so I know what order to do things in. She says to start with a scarf, and so I do. That plan doesn't last long though. Because I record all of my decorating for your viewing pleasure, it would be an editing nightmare for me to do it the way she has laid out. So I have to deviate, which admittedly takes me longer on decorating day, but saves me hours of editing. But if you do buy one of her classes, I recommend doing it as she indicates. I've cut a tiny bit off the end of my piping bag and tested out on my silicone surface. Turns out, I've not cut enough off. It is always better to cut a little bit smaller than you think you may need, and cut a little more if it's not enough. I always keep several damp paper towels in a container next to me while I'm decorating for occasions such as this. I changed up the color palette a bit and rearranged where I use most of the colors. I did this for 2 reasons. 1, I didn't want to completely recreate something you can just go watch on Grace's channel. And 2, it's no fun for me if I don't get to make it my own, even if only a little bit. This is her scarf. You can see I didn't go with a green base. The main reason? Because I didn't use green in my color palette. In fact, the only 2 colors I used exactly from her set are pumpkin and white. Consider this set to be the rebellious little brother to hers. At first glance, you might think this is the pumpkin color, but it's not. This is the Master Elite Autumn Gold from the Sugar Art. I'm not normally drawn to fall colors, but this year, I'm all into them. For this set, she calls for the unthinkable, a 2 consistency outline and flood. Meaning that since the outline icing is a soft peak piping consistency, and my flood is a thin flood, I run the risk of my outline showing once I'm finished. And you know how much I love that. It is right about now that I realize I'm already screwing this up. Clearly, I am not paying super close attention to what Grace has instructed me to do. So to fix my little problem, I have to use my scribe to remove a portion of the outline and repipe it. This little detail would have made the scarf feel very different. In fact, it's not even finished and it already looks better. This might be a good time to go over how I made this pretty autumn gold. For each of the 5 colors I made in this series, I started out with about 10 ounces of fresh white icing. This jar may look really little, but believe me, these colors pack a punch. I am adding 1/8 of a teaspoon to my icing. I am always fascinated about how many of the colors, whether gel or powder, don't appear to be the color they produce. and this is no exception. Now, Master Elite powders need a bit of help to make their super rich color. In order to activate the color, I need to add a few drops of water to the powder. I use my spatula to mix the powder and water together to help the powder dissolve. Knowing that I would need to add a bit of water, I left my icing thicker than I normally would straight from my mixer. I'm not sure this was a good idea because I really got a workout that night. That icing was thick. Before I purchased the Master Elites, I saw a video from the Sugar Art about them, and I recall something about waiting 15 minutes. But I don't remember exactly when you were supposed to wait the 15 minutes. And I couldn't find that video when I was ready to color my icing. So instead, I turned to Grace. She has a video that goes over not just how to color with the Master Elites, but specifically this set of colors. I am also wondering if the Master Elite powder at 1/8 of a teaspoon was too much for my 10 ounces of icing. It seems a bit too dark, and later on you will see another reason why I'm thinking somehow I oversaturated my colors. All of them. Now that it's completely mixed, I transfer the icing into 8-ounce deli containers and toss them into my freezer. I always color my icing a week ahead of time because that is the schedule that works best for me. And consequently, it allows my icing plenty of time to marinate, aka develop its color. I will be doing a wet-on-wet flooding in sections combo move here. Turns out my tip isn't big enough, which is super important for the really quick work wet on wet requires. I talked all about my struggles with wet on wet in part 7 of Halloweenish, icing candy corn pie. You can see that cutting a little bit more off the end of the bag made a very noticeable difference in the amount of icing that comes out. I'm now getting that super satisfying flood flow. In her tutorial, Grace actually goes over how to cut the bag, how much to cut off, how to hold it for piping and flooding, and even includes a practice sheet that she walks you through in real time. To say that she spent a lot of time considering her students when she created this course is a massive understatement. And here you can see I'm trying to combat that seeing the outline thing. I won't make you wait. Every cookie in this set has that ugly outline. I kinda knew that was probably going to happen going into this, but I figured I should do the class with the techniques as she lays out. Though once I become a master icer extraordinaire, I plan on being able to hide that outline on all of my cookies. I have lofty goals. For the plaid, I use the Master Elite in burgundy, and the white I color with AmeriColor white gel color. As I attempt the white, I once again encounter a hole that is too small. The icing was curling as it came out. Not a great start to a line. This little delay is not going to help me get those lines down as quickly as I really need to for the wet on wet to behave. Having good control of the lines with the icing on the thinner side is not the easiest thing, because the amount of icing that wants to come out of the bag doesn't allow for slowing down. Also, because I'm working with a pretty thin flood, I have globs on both ends of my lines. This isn't the nice clean look I'd like, but I don't know exactly how to remedy this problem. After spending 15 minutes in my dehydrator set at 95 degrees, my little scarf with the blobby lines has a crusted layer of icing on top and is ready for round 2. To make a nice seam edge where the new icing meets the crusted icing, I do my best to have a large amount of icing coming out of my bag as I push it toward the crusted edge. This is one of 2 ways to make the seam, and it is my preferred way. You can also lay down another outline first, but I don't really see the point. This seems faster. This here is not my finest work. If you look real close, you can see the ultimate curl came out of the end of my bag. I guess this, too, was a result of a too small tip. I'm wondering now why it is I only tested out my outline icings on my silicone mat. Note to self for the future: test them all. In looking at where I finished my white vertical lines, I'm thinking since it wanted to blob, I might have had a better finished look if I took the line all the way over the edge and down onto the cookie just a bit. Then the blob would have been covered up by my flooding in these sections. You know, it has often been said that when you teach something, you, the teacher, actually benefit greatly. Now, am I actually teaching this? I'd say I'm not exactly qualified to use that language, which is why these are always labeled commentary and not tutorial. But I do have to say that I am absolutely getting so much out of doing these videos. Reviewing footage and then having to say something about it really forces me to consider everything that goes on and evaluating the final outcomes. And for that, I thank you. If no one was watching, I probably wouldn't keep going. Your participation motivates me. I use a dehydrator to speed up the crusting of my icing, but you don't have to have one. You could just simply leave your cookie alone to sit for a while. And depending on your climate, that could be anywhere from a half hour to an hour, I suspect. Or you could set a fan in front of it, and that would probably cut your time down by half. I didn't purchase my dehydrator for cookie decorating. I already had it. But if you don't have one and plan on making a fair amount of cookies, you might find it worth it to buy one. I think I paid about $130 for this one about a year ago on Amazon. Side note, every video I have ever watched about dehydrating, the people making the videos say that dehydrated bananas is something they don't do. They don't like them. This completely baffles me, my family, and everyone I have ever given dehydrated banana slices to. They are delicious. Now, admittedly, they taste nothing like the banana chips you get from the store. But I think that's why they're so good. The ones in the store are terrible with no flavor. In fact, I don't even think they're dehydrated. I'm thinking they're fried. Either way, if you have a dehydrator and have been listening to the naysayers, try dehydrated banana slices. Back to the decorating. For the fringe here at the bottom, I am using a soft peak piping consistency, the same icing I used for the outline on the cookie. In looking at it now, I probably could have put the lines closer together. I only have 8 sections laid out here. Grace did 13 sections, and I like hers better. Since this is a soft peak, the lines do melt down into each other just a bit. If you want more definition, you have 2 options. Use a medium peak icing or wait a few minutes for the lines to crust over before adding the next layer. And once again, my tip is too small. You know the routine. I am shaking my head right now. Though the execution here isn't up to my preferred standards, the friend I gave it to didn't see all my boo-boos and she loved it. I guess that's a win. The epilogue to this story is color bleed. I'll talk more about that in part 3. See you next time for Cozy Cocoa.
Next time on Kuny's Cookie Chronicles.
This is part 2 of Making Cozy Fall. Today, I mix burgundy icing, make a ceramic-inspired cup, then top it with fluffy white whipped cream.